Picture this. It's Christmas morning, 1993. You're 10 years old, you tear open the wrapping paper, and there it is. A Tiger Electronics handheld. Spider-Man, Batman, Jurassic Park. You'd been begging for months. And for about 30 seconds, life is perfect. Then you turn it on. There's a tinny little beep. One fixed background image printed onto the screen, 2 animation frames that barely move, and a control scheme that makes no sense whatsoever. You were playing something, you just weren't sure what. And yet, Tiger Electronics sold hundreds of millions of these things. Kids across America begged for them. Parents bought them by the truckload. They were everywhere. At checkout counters, in toy aisles, in every kid's Christmas stocking from 1988 all the way through the late 90s. So how? How did the worst games in the history of handheld gaming become one of the most successful toy lines of an entire decade? That's exactly what we're going to find out today. To understand Tiger Electronics, you have to go back to 1978. A family, Gerald Rissman and his 2 sons, Randy and Arnold, started a small company in Vernon Hills, Illinois. And their first product was about as far from video games as you can get. It was a Kiss record player, a children's phonograph with the Kiss logo on it, and it sold. Which tells you something important about the Rissman family. They understood pop culture licensing in a way most toy companies didn't. By the early 1980s, Tiger had started making simple educational toys and electronic games. Basic stuff. Calculators, learning computers. In 1984, their talking learning computer was being sold through Kmart locations across the country. But the thing that would define Tiger, the product that would make them a household name, was the LCD handheld game. The concept wasn't new. Nintendo had done it. Mattel had done it. But Tiger found a formula that nobody else had quite cracked. Take a famous property, a movie, a cartoon, a comic book hero, slap it onto cheap LCD hardware, price it at $15, and put it right next to the cash register where kids could nag their parents while they waited to check out. It sounds simple because it was, and that was the genius of it, the formula. By the late 1980s, Tiger had found their groove, and their strategy was devastatingly simple. First, license everything. RoboCop, Terminator, Batman, Spider-Man, Sonic the Hedgehog. It didn't matter what was popular, Tiger would make a handheld version of it. Their licensing game was so aggressive that in 1993, GamePro magazine analyzed exactly why these games kept selling, and they landed on 3 factors. 1, the licensing. Kids saw the Jurassic Park logo and their brain turned off. 2, the price. At $15 to $20, Tiger handhelds cost a fraction of what a Game Boy cartridge ran. And 3, what GamePro generously called addictive gameplay, which was a very polite way of saying the games were simple enough that you could actually figure out what was happening. The hardware itself was remarkable for how little it did. Each unit had a fixed image, a pre-printed background, laminated behind an LCD screen. The animation was achieved by turning different segments of that LCD on and off. Your character wasn't really moving. Different parts of the image were just lighting up in sequence. So when you played the Tiger version of Street Fighter 2, you weren't really controlling a fighter. You were pressing buttons and watching a series of predetermined images blink at you. Whether you hit your opponent was essentially a timing game. Nobody was under any illusion that this was good gaming, not even the kids buying them. But there was something about the packaging, the name on the front, the glossy box art promising Jurassic Park or Batman, that made the whole thing feel worth it. Tiger understood something fundamental about children and about the toy market. The desire to own something beats the quality of the experience every single time. By the early 90s, Tiger was at the top of the world. Their most productive year was 1994, when they released 17 new handheld titles in a single 12-month stretch. But Tiger wasn't just making LCD games, they were branching out. And some of those side ventures hit in a big way. Take the Talkboy. If you grew up in the early 90s, you know exactly what this is. Kevin McAllister used one in Home Alone 2, a variable speed cassette recorder and microphone combo. Tiger was given permission to turn the movie prop into an actual product. The first version, released in time for the 1992 holiday season, sold modestly. But when Tiger added the voice changer function to a deluxe version and re-released it in 1993, paired with the movie's home video release, it exploded. Retailers had severely underestimated demand. The deluxe Talkboy became one of the most sought-after toys of the entire 1993 holiday season. Then, there was Skip It, which Tiger acquired in 1995. Giga Pets, their answer to the Tamagotchi virtual pet craze. Laser Tag, Brain Warp, products across completely different categories, all under the Tiger name. By 1994 and 1995, Tiger was pulling in serious revenue, and so they decided to do what every successful toy company eventually does. They tried to build a console, 2 of them actually, and both were disasters. The failures. The first was the R-Zone, Tiger's answer to Nintendo's Virtual Boy. It strapped a screen to your face and used red LCD cartridges projected onto a reflective visor. The idea was that it looked futuristic and immersive. The reality was that it gave you a headache and was nearly impossible to see in anything other than complete darkness. The second was the Game.com. This was Tiger's attempt to go head-to-head with the Game Boy. And for a second, it actually looked interesting. It had a touchscreen. It had limited internet connectivity in 1997, years before smartphones made that a thing. It could even run a stripped-down version of Solitaire, but the games were abysmal. The screen was nearly unreadable, and the library never grew large enough to matter. The Game.com came and went without making a dent in Nintendo's dominance. Tiger had poured resources into 2 failed consoles in a row. And the LCD handheld market, the one they'd built their entire company on, was getting squeezed from below by even cheaper knockoffs, and from above by the Game Boy and its growing library of real games. For the first time in their history, Tiger's future wasn't clear. And then, out of nowhere, they made a weird little robot, a furry, big-eyed robot that blinked and cooed and responded to touch. And everything changed. The Furby saves everything. The Furby was not originally a Tiger product. It was invented by 2 designers, David Hampton and Caleb Chung, who brought the concept to Tiger and found enthusiastic backers. Tiger began developing it quickly, quietly. Hasbro, one of the biggest toy companies on Earth, had been watching Tiger for a while. They'd actually been working together on various licensed products throughout the mid-90s, and Hasbro had their eye on the Furby. In 1998, Hasbro acquired Tiger Electronics for $335 million in cash. And with Hasbro's resources and supply chain behind them, they rushed the Furby into production in time for the 1998 holiday season. It was the toy of the year. Then, it was the toy of 1999 as well. Kids lost their minds over it. Parents waited in lines. Stores couldn't keep them on shelves. It's one of the stranger stories in toy history. A company that built its empire on the cheapest games imaginable ended up being acquired because they invented one of the most sophisticated interactive toys of the decade. And what made the Furby story even more interesting was that nobody knew how big it would become. At the time, interactive toys were still new. Furby felt different because it reacted to touch, made sounds, and seemed like it had its own personality. Of course, it wasn't actually thinking or learning like a person. It was clever programming designed to create the feeling that the toy was alive. But for millions of kids, that feeling was enough. They carried their Furbies everywhere, treated them like pets, and showed them off to friends. The Furby craze proved that people didn't just want technology. They wanted technology that felt personal. Tiger Electronics, the brand name anyway, largely faded out by the late 2000s. Their final LCD handheld, a rocket power game, came out in 2000. By 2008, the Tiger name had stopped appearing on new products. But in 2020, Hasbro brought some of the classic LCD games back as retro reimaginings: Sonic, X-Men, Batman, all updated with modern screens, sold at GameStop as nostalgia items for the grown-up kids who once begged for the originals. Which, when you think about it, is the most Tiger Electronics thing imaginable. Even in retirement, they found a way to sell you something you didn't entirely need, based entirely on a name and a memory. The fact that we look back on these games with any fondness at all is a testament to something that Tiger figured out way before most. The experience of wanting a toy, of getting it, of holding it, that stays with you. The gameplay doesn't have to. Thanks for watching. If you remember begging for one of these, drop the game you had in the comments. And if you want more stories like this one, subscribe. We do this every week.